Hey, yeah, what's up? This disciple Marcello Currents reign back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-America all day, anti-telepathy all day, anti-Freemasons all day, anti-gang stalker all day. Yeah, so this message right here is going to be about Jerry Lee Lewis marrying a 13-year-old girl. Yeah, that's one of your icons in your community, Jerry Lee Lewis. And he married a 13-year-old girl. Like, so I didn't know anything about this. The way I found out was I was watching the movie innocently. I just thought, let me watch and see about this guy's life, me being a musician in the past, I just like to follow the real story of a musician. If they make a biography on him or something like that. So I just was, I already know about child marriage here, and as you know, I'm campaigning about that. So I was watching this movie, not thinking about that at all, and then he married the girl behind her back without her consent. He showed her in the movie. He shows his child bride the marriage certificate, and she goes, "I'm too young to be married. I'm only 13 years old." And you know me already talking about this child marriage. I'm like, oh man, here we go. Here we go. Jerry Lee Lewis. Goodness great balls of fire. Well, he's a great ball of fire in hell if he did not repent of his pedophile ways now, isn't he? He's a great ball of fire in hell. Ow. Jerry Lee Lewis married a 13-year-old girl, and go look at the pictures of her. She didn't in any way look like a woman or anything. Now this man, if you're not familiar with him, he's considered one of the first exciting showmen of rock and roll. So all the artists know who he is. All the famous people know who Jerry Lee Lewis. All you American celebrities know who Jerry Lee Lewis is. Now you might have not been conscious of it, or you may have overlooked this. But now up to date, how do you feel with all this stuff that we've been going through? How do you feel now about knowing that Jerry Lee Lewis married a 13-year-old girl? How you feel about that? How you feel about your country accepting this? See, this was back in the times where white men could do anything. You think they cared about Jerry Lee Lewis marrying a 13-year-old girl? No, they looked the other way. They looked the other way. Collectively speaking, culturally speaking, this man was jamming, and that's all they cared about. They looked the other way. They didn't care about that. But they care about it when Michael Jackson do it. Boom, ow. Oh, wow. They care about it when R. Kelly do it. But they didn't care about it. They're paying homage to Jerry Lee Lewis and all of this, and they didn't care about it when he was doing it. And they still pay homage to him. Okay, you're paying homage to somebody that married a 13-year-old girl, buddy. I don't care who it is. That's who do you agree with it? Do you agree with somebody being with a 13-year-old girl? Okay, so when you pay homage, that's you subconsciously, indirectly accept this. Well, you shouldn't be giving homage to somebody that married a 13-year-old girl. But just because of that song, goodness gracious, I don't care nothing about that no more. He married a 13-year-old girl. Your country let him plow into a 13-year-old girl like plowing into a pie. Y'all didn't say nothing about it. Yeah, your whole culture didn't say nothing about it. Jerry Lee Lewis married a 13-year-old girl. Yeah. Now look, that's way up there because for people that don't know who Jerry Lee Lewis is, he is up there with Chuck Berry. That's what I'm saying. Jerry Lee Lewis ain't no, he ain't even among Michael Jackson and Prince. He was above them. Jerry Lee Lewis is up there with the James Browns and he's up in those ranks. The Elvis. Jerry Lee Lewis is among them, which is like basically the ancestors of rock and roll. He is an ancestor of rock and roll. That's the best way to put it. Jerry Lee Lewis is an ancestor of rock and roll. Okay? He's up there with the Chuck Berrys, the James Browns. Now you're talking about the absolute heavyweights. Now you're talking about the ancestors. And one of them, being Jerry Lewis, married a 13-year-old girl. 13-year-old girl. And when you look up the pictures of her, you're going to see that she in no way looked like a woman. And this man, the music he made, he could have had any kind of woman he wanted. This is what boggles my mind, is that these individuals, like himself, could have any woman they want, any type of woman. You know what I'm saying? You might not be able to get the exact, literally, but you can get close enough to whatever kind of flavor you want. You want an Egyptian woman, kind of look like, gotta look like an Egyptian, Middle Eastern type of woman. Whatever you want, bro. On that level like that, he could have got any kind of woman basically that he wanted. But yet, that part. But yet, he chooses a 13-year-old girl, man. You're around all these women in show business and everywhere. You see all these beautiful women. You're exposed to every type of woman. You know what I mean? You're exposed to, you're one of the ancestors of this type of music that no one has ever heard. You got put yourself in, look at his shoes that he was in. He was making rock and roll like in a time where there was no reference point. There was no reference point for what the music that he was making. No one knew about this type of genre of music. It was a brand new type of music, right? And nobody knew, like, this was shocking to people. So it made a huge, like, incredible, otherworldly impression on people, right? It made an otherworldly impression. There was no real reference points to rock and roll, except Chuck Berry and Louis Jordan. Louis Jordan and Chuck Berry. Louis Jordan is the original father of rock and roll. It started with Louis Jordan. See, I know the real history. I ain't no slouch. Louis Jordan is the absolute number one father of rock and roll. The first rock and roll song of all times, do you know? Do you know the first rock and roll song of all time? The number one first rock and roll song of all time was Saturday Night Fish Fry by Louis Jordan. Saturday Night Fish Fry was the first rock and roll song of all times. That's by Louis Jordan. Louis Jordan is the father of rock and roll. Then Chuck Berry. Then you can get into the Jerry Lee Lewises of the world and the Elvises of the world. But before Elvis and Jerry Lee Lewis, there was Louis Jordan and Chuck Berry. But before Chuck Berry, there was Louis Jordan. And like I said, His song was the first #1 song was Saturday Night Fish Fry. That was the first original rock and roll record. Okay? Jerry Lee Lewis is among those guys. Right? He's right up under Louis Jordan, Chuck Berry, and Elvis. I would say those three are above Jerry Lee Lewis. But he's the fourth one in line, right? In my opinion. You got Louis Jordan, as far as the origins of rock and roll. You got Louis Jordan, you got Chuck Berry, and then I would go with Elvis over Jerry Lee Lewis. Just because he just was more, he had more songs, more hits and everything like that. And, you know, he was more of a national icon, international icon, right, than Jerry Lee Lewis. Jerry Lee Lewis kind of was with the times, you know what I'm saying? And like basically saying in his time he was successful, he was a superstar. But when you come out of his time, really Elvis is the one that Elvis beat him as far as still as far as longevity as a bona fide superstar or bona fide rock star, right? Elvis, I would have to go with him. All right, everyone knows who Elvis is. Jerry Lee Lewis, you have to know music, or you have to have grown up in those times, right? One or the other. You know music, or you grew up in the times of Jerry Lee Lewis. But kids everywhere know who Elvis. Kids everywhere know who Elvis is, right? So I would have to say it's Louis Jordan, Chuck Berry, and then Elvis, because, like I said, everyone knows who. Elvis just had longevity as far as being a bona fide rock star, right? So those are the three. And right up under that would be, as far as rock and roll, it would be Jerry Lee Lewis after that. Because you wouldn't consider James Brown rock and roll, right? So, but he's among them. Jerry Lee Lewis is among all of them, right? James Brown is obviously among them. So you can say that, you know, that applies. He's among them, right? That shows you, you know, who Jerry Lewis was. He could be named among the James Browns of the world, the Chuck Berrys, the Elvises. He could be named among them. So this was no... the one hit he had was the Great Balls of Fire. But he still, when it comes to the who's who and all of that, he's up there with like I said, Elvis, Chuck Berry. You know what I mean? He's up in the ancestors of all of that. You know, he's considered one of the first exciting icons of rock and roll. I'm bringing it home to you who he is and who his peers were, who his counterparts were. His counterparts were the likes of Chuck Berry. You know what I'm saying? Not Prince, not Michael Jackson. That's decades later. This guy was among the James Browns, the Chuck Berrys. Now you can say Chuck Berry, James Brown, Louis Jordan, Jerry Lee Lewis. That wouldn't be out of pocket. That would be right there with him. And this is the guy that marries a 13-year-old girl. Now, I know Chuck Berry had his things going on, too, with the white girls. Right? That's what I got some kind of information about that, but don't think he married a teenage girl, though. Like that is not an adult. Now, if you marry somebody who's 18, 19, that's an adult. Simple. It's simple. But 13, bro, that's what we talk about. And so, you know, Jerry Lee Lewis has never been, called out for this. Nobody really ever said anything about it. Nobody really even really pointed this part out, And yet, they point out all what Michael Jackson did. Michael Jackson would have never married no 13-year-old girl. Michael Jackson would have never married no 13-year-old girl. Okay. Prince didn't marry no 13-year-old girl. James Brown, no 13-year-old girl. Pretty sure Louis Jordan didn't have a 13-year-old girl. But anytime a black man dips down that low in America, you know what I'm talking about. You know where I'm going with this. Anytime a black man dips down that low, even though the white man is notorious for doing this, anytime the black man dips down that low, oh, he's made out to be a villain like King Kong. You know what I mean? You make him out to be King Kong. Let a black man marry a 13-year-old girl. Oh, everybody hear about that. You wouldn't hear the end of it. You wouldn't hear the end of it. And my thing is this. We could talk about what happened, what Michael Jackson did and everything, right? We could talk about that. But at the end of the day, Michael Jackson didn't marry no kid. When you marry a kid, a 13-year-old girl, you are a 24/7 pedophile. Okay? You're a pedophile 24/7, bro. That's worse than somebody fondling a kid or sleeping with a kid. Eventually they go home, right? It's no joking matter, but eventually they go home. When Jerry Lee Lewis married a 13-year-old girl who obviously didn't look nothing like a woman, he had the child 24/7, bro. That's 24/7 pedophilia. So let's weigh the difference. Let's weigh which one is worse. 24/7 pedophilia through a child marriage that Jerry Lee Lewis had it, marrying a 13-year-old girl who your whole American community and culture didn't talk about, but you ain't talk about that part. It might have been a well-known secret, I'm sure, among Hollywood, but y'all didn't talk about it, though. It was just that, a well-kept secret, a well-known secret. Or what they said Michael Jackson did, and the kids went home. The kids went home now. Jerry Lee Lewis had the child 24/7. Ow. Jerry Lee Lewis had a 13-year-old girl 24/7. Michael Jackson didn't have a child, didn't marry a child. See the difference? See the double standard? And he's one of you, and see, this is what I can't stress enough. He's one of your icons. It's not like, oh, he's on a little bit below Michael Jackson, a little bit below Prince. He wasn't a descendant of Prince or a descendant of Michael Jackson. In fact, some would say Jerry Lee Lewis, well, Michael Jackson and Prince was a descendant of Jerry Lee Lewis, musically speaking. Musically speaking, many would say that Michael Jackson and Prince were descendants of Jerry Lee Lewis. Right or wrong? I'm pretty sure, I definitely know that Michael Jackson knew who Jerry Lee Lewis was. That's obviously obvious. It's obviously obvious. I'm sure Prince did, especially Prince being in rock and roll more than Michael Jackson. I'm pretty sure Prince obviously knew who Jerry Lee Lewis was. I mean, come on. And although you may question what Michael Jackson did, and although you may even question what Prince did, because his wife was, the wife he did marry was 16 when she met him. But she was married to him when she was 19, which was 3 years later. Now that's the story of Prince. I like Prince. I liked Prince. Prince is, and I went to see Prince live. I went to a real Prince concert, not a little show, a little festival. I went to an official Prince concert where he did all the songs, all the new stuff, some of the new stuff, a lot of the old stuff. Now, Prince married a 16-year-old girl. He met his wife when she was 16, when she was a 16-year-old girl, right? Now, this is my standard. I don't feel, and I've done a video on this, I don't feel that you should be sizing up any kids talking about, I'll wait for you later. Because to me, what you're doing is you're sizing up the child relationally, and some would say sexually, at 16. And you think you're doing the honorable thing by waiting, but you just sized the child up sexually. You had to see that this is what you want to be with. But you did that at 16. You couldn't have done it at 19 because they ain't there yet. So you had to see the child a certain way at 16. That's my only thing now. That's my standard. And I feel like, okay, technically you do the right thing, but technically you also are sizing the child up. You're sizing the child up. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. And you can sit up and justify it and be technical about it, but at the end of the day, at the present time when the child is before you, underage, you're looking at them with desire, and that time capture is pedophilia desire. That's pedophilia desire, because at that capture time, when you're sizing them up sexually or relationally, they are a child. So you have desire at that capture time for a child. This is old school stuff that people used to do back in the day. They'll see a child that's like, 15, maybe even 14. If they esteem them as beautiful enough, they could be even 13 and 14, just like Jerry Lee Lewis. But they would wait until they were 18, but they were courting them the whole time so that they would definitely have that child. And some might even come to the parents if they got enough money and just and think they're doing the honorable thing and say, yeah, I want to marry your child and I want to marry her, and I'll wait. And they start giving the parent money and even the child money. And then when they turn 18, boom. But the whole time you were sizing up the child sexually. You feel me? You had to be, okay? You had to say, okay, that's what I want to be in. You might not say it blatantly, but you're obviously thinking, this is who I want to be with sexually. You got to be thinking that. Okay, you're going to marry the person. You already sizing them up. And how many men have done that in your community? While you think you're not pedophiles, how many men have actually sized up a child and said, oh, I'm going to wait for that one. I'm going to wait for that one. And you can justify, but at the time you are captured in desire for a child, which by definition is pedophilia. If you are adult yourself. Now, how many men in your American community are married to women that they sized up when they was a child? You sized them up. Talking about, well, I'm gonna marry that one. And you was looking at them from that old school perspective. Like as if they're deer or livestock or something. Yeah, that's a good one right there. Like they're a cow or some type of animal. that you gonna bring home. That's real. And how many generations of men did that here in America? Come on, don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, don't get stupid on me now. Don't get stupid on me now. How many men sized up girls and talking about, yeah, I'm going to wait for you. I'm going to wait till you turn 18. How many generations did that? And I already did a video on that. Yeah, I already did a video on that. Listen, man, we going hard body, man. They want to have a conversation. We're going to have the whole conversation. We're going to have the whole conversation. We're going to have, you shouldn't have listened. You shouldn't have opened up the can of worms. You opened up the can of worms. And now we're going to have the whole conversation. That's how I get down. Yeah, you want to talk about it? We're going to talk about all of it. We're going to talk about all of it. Your whole culture. We're going to talk about all of it. We're going to talk about the whole culture. Jerry Lee Lewis married a 13-year-old girl. Your whole community didn't talk nothing about it. Well, you don't hear. How come I don't know about it? How come I just figured it out? Watching the Jerry Lee Lewis movie. Didn't hear anybody talk about it blatantly, right? In the culture or nothing, right? Meanwhile, Michael Jackson was going through trials with children, concerning children. And at that time, obviously, Jerry Lee Lewis was already married to the 13-year-old girl. I don't know if he was still alive at the time. He probably was. In the 90s, he probably was still alive. I'm sure he was. I don't know if he was still with that 13-year-old girl. But it had already happened, and your culture pretty much already knew it. But then when Michael Jackson came around, y'all acting like something brand new happened. See, when the black man does it, oh, it's something monstrous. It's a savage. You know how they painted those pictures of black men in the 50s and the 40s in those movies? Like he was some savage caveman coming in, invading white America. And that's how they still paint the black man when he do something that the white man been doing. Yeah, the white man been doing all this stuff with children. That's why you got 43 states of child marriage. That's a 7th hour. That's why you got 43 states of child marriage, because the white Americans have been messing with children. Yeah, and then y'all act new, like y'all and black people just as bad. You act like it's something new. Or no, here it is. You act like it's the religious people turning these kids out. You know who's turning kids out here and who's been doing it? You know who's been doing it? The American government has been doing it. The American government has been doing it. In fact, they have the record, the world record. Now listen to this now. The American government has the world record for the lowest age of consent. I'm not talking about who have the present. You can't be slow following me. Listen, I'm not talking about who has the present lowest age of consent. That's one thing that fluctuates with time or back and forth, right? I'm not talking about who has the present lowest age of consent. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about who has the world record for the lowest age of consent. You see the difference between the present lowest age of consent, which could be anybody at any time, and it can change with time. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the world record for the lowest age of consent. America has that. Oh yeah, you didn't know that, did you? I wouldn't have guessed. I would have not guessed that in a million years. America, I would have never guessed that. They have the lowest age of consent world record. They set the record at 7 years old. The American government made a law for men to have sex with 7-year-old girls. Grown men. Grown men, bro. And see, this is one of their dirty little secrets. Meanwhile, years later, they got Michael Jackson on trial like he done did something from outer space. They acting like Michael Jackson done did something from outer space or something. Like he done some otherworldly activities. Hey, they acting like Michael Jackson did some otherworldly activities. It's otherworldly when the black man does it. It's that's the way you explain it. It's otherworldly. Let the white man, he's got it in the laws. Oh, it's absolutely normal. So normal that the government is passing the laws. I can't make this up. It's so normal for when white Americans do this. I'm showing you your superstars and how the black people can't do it and the white people can do it. It's so normal when the white Americans do it that they done put it into laws. Let you even sneeze as a child, They got you in the bookings. Well, he was looking at the children. Let's just see. Let's just run them. Let's see if he got some warrants or something. Let's just run them. He was staring too long at the children. Okay. Meanwhile, you got child marriage laws in America. Meanwhile, you have the world record. Nobody has beaten this record. If it was in the Guinness Book of World Records, that's the best way to explain it. If it was in the Guinness Book of World Records, it would read the American, not Canada, not North America, the United States of America. The United States of America has the world record. If it was in the Guinness Book of World Records, this is how I would read. The United States of America has the world record for the lowest age of consent in the state of Delaware in 1880 at 7 years old. No country in the world has ever done that. I know you're kind of slow. You don't know it's all a big blur to you. They have the world record. I'm not talking about, listen, this is besides the present laws that they have of 43 states of child marriage. You got that part, right? That ain't got nothing to do with the world record. That had nothing to do with it. They ain't got nothing to do with it. They ain't got nothing to do with the age of consent under 18 in 40 states. That's where children can have sex in 40 states. They ain't got nothing to do with that. That's 2 laws. Then the third law is passed 3 years ago, the child marriage law under the Trump administration. Those are 3 different laws that have nothing to do with the world record. Now you see what I'm saying. So that's the 4th situation, which is the first situation, actually. You got the world record. I would have never guessed this in a million years. If you would have told me, yo, America has the world record for having sex with the youngest age of children by law, passed by the American government, I would have said, nah, not America. Maybe one of these other countries. Nobody. Listen, that's put up against all of modern day record keepings. All modern day records. No country in all modern day record keepings has the age of consent or ever had it at 7 years old, bro. So you put it all together. They got the world record. They got 43 states of child marriage. They got the age of consent under 18 in 40 states, which means children can have sex in 40 states. And they passed their last child marriage law a year before COVID under the Trump administration. Now you see what we're dealing with. It would be one thing if it's hit and miss. They got this little situation. No, bro. Listen, this has been an ongoing situation this whole time that none of y'all knew about. Okay, you ain't know about the world record. Right or wrong? That's even for the child marriage people. Name any of these child marriage people that's been talking about the world record too. Oh, the world record tells us a lot. It tells us how low you can go. Like this limbo or something. How low can you go? Like you at the beach. Like you at the beach. How low can you go? How low can you? Listen, ain't nobody in world history, bro. This is why I'm trying to show you, because see, when you put it all together, now you see the full portrait that they are the ones that's been messing with the children the most. And so the audacity that they have is unbelievable. They have the audacity after having the world record. I don't care who it is. If they got social security numbers, they're Americans. They got the audacity to play around people, talk about anything with pedophilia and all of this, right? And they got the world record, bro. They the world champions. Hey, you the world champion pedophiles. Y'all got the age of consent at 7 years old. Y'all was having sex with 7-year-old girls by law. By law, man. Man, listen, you trying to play with me? Listen, man, listen, bro, you can't be serious. You got the world record. That speaks volumes. Meanwhile, keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. Russia does not have child marriage. Russia, the country Russia does not have child marriage. They talking all this jazz about Russia. Meanwhile, Russia does not have child marriage. You can talk about the age of consent, okay, but they not taking a child home in a 24/7 pedophile situation. They not doing that. You are doing that with child marriage. So you can talk about that age of consent. You can talk about that, but they don't have child marriage where you take the child home 24/7. Boom, out. Also, China does not have a child marriage law. China does not. China does not have a child marriage law. So all these pictures where America paints the Asian community like they have sex slaves somewhere in the basement, like a sweatshop, like a sexual sweatshop. They paint the Asian community like they have sexual sweatshops, right or wrong. You know, you've seen it in some kind of way. Like they got sexual sweatshops somewhere in Asia or somewhere. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. These sexual sweatshops somewhere in Asia somewhere. Far East somewhere. Never found them, did you? Never found the sexual sweatshops, just like the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. You never found those weapons of mass destruction, did you? And you never found these sexual sweatshops that you've been showing us on TV in all these American undercover investigations, where they show you these sexual sweatshops. Where's the sexual sweatshops, man? Where's the sexual sweatshops? Don't know where they at, do you? But we do know you got 43 states of child marriage, and China does not. China does not have that. China does not have the world record for having sex with 7-year-old girls by government. You do. You passed your last child marriage law under the Donald Trump administration. Yeah, your last child marriage law was passed under Donald Trump's administration. If it couldn't be no more relevant than it couldn't be no more relevant than that. Trump's still running for office. This is a relevant figure in your community. The last child marriage law was passed under his administration. You can't be serious. You can't be serious playing with me, man. You got child marriage and world record, and the world record. The last child marriage law was passed 3 years ago in a country that's supposed to be child protectors everywhere. Y'all supposed to be child protectors. How come they passed the child marriage laws 3 years ago? Huh? You explain that to me. You make that make sense. I'm going to give that to you. Now, I want you to make that make sense. That's what I'm going to start saying. I'm going to give that to you. Now I want you to make that make sense. Here it is. I'm putting it in your hand. I'm going to put that in your hand. Hold your hand out. I'm going to put that in your hand. Now you make sense of child marriage laws passed 3 years ago under the Trump administration. Make sense of that. Under the Trump administration, child marriage laws passed. I'm putting it in your hand. I want you to make sense of that. So what you see is a whole full culture of it. That's my whole point. You see a whole full culture from the beginning with the world record they still have here in America, right here, nowhere else, not Canada, not somewhere else, no, some islands right in the center of America. You have the world record in the homeland, here, homeland America, over everyone in the world. That don't speak volumes to you. That no other government has went that low. That doesn't speak volumes to you. That's the whole point. Because you'll say, well, that was then. But it still speaks volumes of how low this country has went. And no one else has done it. That part right there speaks volumes. That's what I put that information out there for. To show you the volumes, the full links of the history of how these people think towards children and how they got the audacity, them or their community, to play with me. You up here with the world record playing with me, buddy. Man, you need to have a seat, bro. Come on, man. You got little league marriage. Come on, little league kids. We got little league marriage. Come on, kids. You got little league marriage, bro. Like little league baseball. Like little league baseball. You got little league marriage, bro. These cats got little league marriage. Can't be serious. Yo, they got little league marriage. Little league Yankees, little league marriage. You got little league marriage, little league Yankee marriages. Little league Yankee marriage. Can't be serious, man. Man, listen, man, you should have started with me, bro. Sitting up here talking about pedophilia. You got the world record, man. You don't want it with me, man. You don't want it with me. Man, I can go all day on this, bro. Just passed your last child marriage law, what? 3 years ago under the Trump administration, man. You got NYPD having sex with a 15-year-old girl. NYPD. NYPD having sex with a 15-year-old girl. Yeah, y'all didn't know nothing about that, did you? Right here in your community. I can pull the card of a whole New York City, man. All that New York strong, arrogant mentality, I got them too. They want to pull up, I got them too. Come on, I got them. Come on, pull up. You got NYPD having sex with a 15-year-old girl getting jacked off in a New York PD cop car. Go look it up. Go look it up. Go look it up. NYPD getting jacked off, getting a hand job from a 15-year-old girl in a cop car they supposed to be serving you in. They supposed to be serving you in an NYPD cop car, one of them getting jacked off by a 15-year-old girl. It's facts. I ain't got him? You telling me I ain't got him? The other one, it was 2 cops on 1 girl. A 15-year-old girl. A 15-year-old girl. 2 cops. And guess what they found? Guess where they found her at? She was in a program at an NYPD precinct for troubled teens. If that wasn't worse enough, she was trying to get assistance from the NYPD precinct in a program called the Explorers in the New York PD precinct. She was a kid in the precinct. They took her out of there. 2 cops. Go look it up. Go look it up. 2 cops, and one got jacked off in the cop car. The other one had her back and forth to his house in the middle of the night. Can't see me, man. Listen, man, listen. I eat them for breakfast, man. I eat them for breakfast, man. I eat them for breakfast, man. NYPD having sex with 15-year-old girl, man. Huh? That's a girl, bro. In the cop car, they supposed to be serving you in, and they driving around you like they intimidating you. They can't intimidate me. You can't. I can look you right in your face. You don't mean nothing to me. look you right in your face, bro. You don't mean nothing. You don't intimidate me. When you getting jacked off in a New York, in a cop car from a 15-year-old girl's hand. Go look it up. Go look it. You don't believe me? Go look it up. Everything I say is always credible, 100%. Go look it up. Go look it up. NYPD 15-year-old girl. That's all you got to put. Go look it up. Go Google it right now. Go Google it right now, and you will see that. And they riding around like they John Wayne. You know what I mean? Like you intimidating somebody. You can't be serious. 15-year-old girl, and she was in the cop program. That's the worst part. She was a troubled teen. So troubled that her mother put her in a program, in a cop program, not a YMCA program. I gotta tell you, I gotta say it just right. Not a YMCA program. Not a YMCA program. Not some girl program somewhere, across town somewhere, some church program. Because I know that's what y'all like to think it's the religious people that's always messing with these children. Okay. It wasn't a church program where this girl was molested. She was in the NYPD program. And you supposed to be with them? Okay. How come the cops didn't take a knee when that happened to that girl? Boom. Oh, they take a knee when they lose one of their own, don't they? When one of their own get bucked down, they taking a knee, ain't they? How come they didn't take a knee when the girl was in the NYPD program? She was among them. Her name and everything and all her social security information was all with them. She was in their care. She was in their care, bro. You think she just walked in? They had all her information. They had her social security number, her social, her government, everything. You know they did. How she in part of the program, they ain't got none of her information? Think about it now. They had her information. They had her social security number. They had all the details of her troubleisms, if you will. They had all of that. Right? They had all that information, and she was in the care. She was in the care of NYPD, and they dropped the ball, and she's jacking a cop off in the cop car, bro. I can't make it up. And then the other cop, I guess they found her very interesting. 2 cops on 1 girl. He ain't go get another girl. They got the same girl. I guess that she was attractive to them. So much so, both of them was sexually active. 2 NYPD cops sexually active with this girl. And you trying to see me? That's what I'm talking about. See, you got to figure out what I know, bro. That's why I carry myself the way I do. I don't have no respect for him. And I don't have no respect for you as a community because you didn't know it and you ain't say nothing. All of a sudden now you community watch now. How come you ain't know about these NYPD cops right here in your community having sex with this 15-year-old girl? Huh? How come you ain't know about that? How come all your 5 boroughs didn't do nothing and say nothing and protest about it? How come you ain't protest the precinct? So I'm supposed to take you seriously as a community that protect children? Come on, man. You're a joke, man. You're another joke. Come on. You got a 15-year-old girl getting molested by cops and y'all don't say nothing, but you protesting all about this other foolishness with these musty grown men already out here making mistakes anyway? You go protest a musty man dying. Some musty man out there doing probably other stuff. He wasn't innocent. Half of these people you protesting ain't innocent. Yeah, you go protest these musty, non-innocent men. But then when a 15-year-old girl, we don't hear nothing from you. We don't hear nothing from you when a 15-year-old girl is molested by cops. By cops now. Now you see what I'm saying, why I don't respect you as a community. Nah, I don't respect you either. Well, the information came out 2021. It came out in 2021, what they did and everything, the end of it. How come you ain't say nothing as a community? Huh? I'm talking about all that little stuff y'all got, all them counselors and who think they're guardians over children. And okay, how come you ain't say nothing? How come also you ain't say nothing about the age of consent at 17 when that's a child? How come all these counselors across New York, you know the type, sit back like they mothers, sit back like they mothers of the community. Okay, you so motherly, how come you ain't know about 43 states of child marriage? That's a 7 hour. How come you ain't know about this child marriage up in here? You such a counseling mother. You know the type. You know what I'm talking about. Halfway look like a poet. You know, kind of look like a poet or whatever. They got all the paraphernalia of one that's in touch with spirituality and all of that. You know where I'm going with this. You know the type I'm talking about. With all that paraphernalia and all they got going on, none of these counselors of troubled teens know anything about child marriage, do they? Won't you go tell all these troubled teen child counselors, won't you tell all the child counselors of America that they got child marriage here in 43 states? Won't these child counselors go protest somewhere? Don't see them pulling up, do you? That's what I'm saying, bro. Man, listen, man, come on, man. That's a joke, man. It's a joke to me. An educated black man is the worst threat, the worst monster, the worst beast you could ever face, bro. Listen, man, I'm educated, bro. Listen, I'm educated. And you not. You can't win. Because I can beat you 1,000,000 times with education. With education, I can defeat you 1,000,000 times. I can make you die 1,000,000 times with my education. You done died already when I told you about the 15-year-old girl getting molested by 2 cops. And here's the thing about the cops. You're trained. Look at all that training they do. Anybody that's been on a job that require training, you know what I'm talking about. You got to get all this training. You know what I'm saying? You got to get all this training, right? How they get all that training, bruh? All that training, right? You know all the different computer questionnaires. You know they had a whole 1,000,000 questionnaires. NYPD got 1,000,000 questionnaires to get the job. They got all these tests and questionnaires. All them questionnaires, bro. And you still turn around and get a hand job from a 15-year-old girl after all your training? And she came from a program where she was supposed to get help from the NYPD. She winds up giving a hand job to a man full of training to protect children. And the other one was bringing her to his house in the middle of the night. You don't know what they was doing. They probably did everything. We will never know, will we? All we know is she came to his house. Wow, man. And listen, here's the punchline. Your community, all the 5 boroughs, said nothing. That's the punchline. Who else supposed to stand up? Everybody talking about New York stand up. Man, you can't be serious. You can't be serious. You ain't stand up with that. That part. Hey, you ain't stand up when that 15-year-old girl got molested by 2 NYPD cops. You ain't stand up on that. And you supposed to be anti-cop. You can't stand the cops. I can't tell. Hey, yo, you talking about you can't stand the cops. Well, how come you ain't protest about that then? Man, come on, man. Come on, man. That's what I'm saying, bro. What would you think if you was me? You would think nobody's about that life. That's what I'm saying. You would think that. That's what you would think. NYPD cops doing whatever they want to do, and all the 5 boroughs say nothing. And then you talking about New York stand up. You can't be serious. You can't be serious. Hey, New York didn't stand up when that 15-year-old girl got molested by the cops. When she was jacking a cop off in the cop car. New York didn't stand up when the 15-year-old girls was jacking a guy off in the cop car. Hey, you ain't stand up then, did you? No boroughs stood up. That's what we talk, man. Listen, man, I shut it down, bro. I shut it down. There is no competitors. Not even you. You sitting up watching a 15-year-old girl, she go through what she go through with the cops. And here you are trying to jump on people in the community, disowning people in the community. You ain't disown them cops. And guess what? They just lost their job. They ain't even get arrested. Let me tell you what happened. They ain't even get arrested, yo. They ain't even get arrested. That's the law system seeing no need to prosecute people that's trained to protect children. They felt no need to prosecute someone that didn't have a conscience, that's supposed to be a protector of children. Supposed to be a protector of children. They felt no need to prosecute a person with that cop training, NYPD training, and goes around and gets a hand job in a cop car where they're supposed to be serving you at in the cop car. The cop car is for serving you. He got served himself. He got served himself in the cop car with the car he's supposed to be serving you in. Huh? And the law system here did not prosecute those two cops. They just fired them. Last time I checked, firing somebody don't stop them from still doing something to somebody else. Those cops can go somewhere else and do something else. That does not stop them. So you see what I'm saying? Now let it be me and you getting caught in the car, let somebody get caught in the car getting jacked off by a 15-year-old girl. You wouldn't hear the last of it. It'd be all over the paper and everything. Yeah, you heard about that guy getting jacked off in the car by a 15-year-old girl. You heard about that. You'll still be talking about it right now. But yet, when we talk about these cops, you don't know nothing, do you? See, that's what I'm saying. It's a double standard. And me knowing this information, how should I carry myself? Through New York and through all of America, how should I carry myself? Where two cops can fulfill their pedophile fantasies of having sex with a 15-year-old girl, getting jacked off in a cop car. That's probably a role play right there. Well, he's in uniform. He's in uniform in a cop car. Fulfilling fantasies. The other cop was bringing her to his house. And then you do nothing as a community. And I'm supposed to take you seriously, like you New York strong. Like we gonna stand up against pedophilia. You ain't stand up against them cops that had sex with that 15-year-old girl. Hey, you ain't stand up against them. You were nowhere to be found. You was MIA. That's what I'm saying. It's a double standard. You ain't really about that life, and God is exposing it. God is exposing it. Well, how you miss that? Sure, I saw it in the paper. How come you ain't see it in the paper? Huh? I saw it in the paper. How come you ain't see it? That's what I'm saying. I ain't got no special eyes. I read. You read just like me. How come you ain't say nothing? How come NYPD didn't protest when the information came out in 2021? How come they ain't protest about it? How come they ain't take a knee about it? But yet they trying to get pedophiles. Man, you can't be serious, bro. You can't even listen. You can't even show integrity when one of your own is doing the very thing that you accuse other people of, or that you're investigating other people for doing. You can't even take a knee and acknowledge it. You know why? Because it's a shame to you. That's why. It's a shame to you. You're ashamed of it as a community. That's what it is. See, you're ashamed when the people that supposed to be looking out for you, the ones that you didn't think was a pedophile, the unlikely pedophiles. Yeah. The unlikely pedophiles. Oh, you don't like that, do you? See, because in your mind, you know what it is? In your mind, you have an idea of what a pedophile looks like. which is stupid and simple-minded. You got an idea of what a pedophile look like. That's why women get away with it. That's why cops get away with it. Women get away with it because beautiful women, they can do no wrong in your community. She's too sexy to do wrong. You see how she dressed? She's too sexy to be a pedophile. Women get away with it all the time. Well, if you don't believe me, go Google how many teachers have been caught in sex pedophilia. Go look up female teachers caught in pedophilia. The ones you trust the most, the cops and the teachers, them the ones that's doing it. And it's a double standard, and you have not protested as a community. And that's why I don't take you seriously. You can't be serious. You got cops doing it here. Yeah, the ones I'm not paid. Listen, I'm not paid to protect your children. The cops are paid to protect your children, yet here they are having sex with a 15-year-old girl. Huh? I'm not paid to do that. I'm not paid to protect no children. That's what's most insulting. They're giving paychecks to protect your community. I can't make this up. They're giving checks to protect you. Yet here they are preying on your children getting jacked off in a cop car. And ain't nothing you can say about it, is it? Ain't nothing you can say about you not saying nothing, is it? And you think I'm supposed to take you seriously. Man, you can't be serious, bro. You can't be serious. See, you ran up on an educated warrior. You ran up on an educated soldier. I ain't an educated nut. I'm an educated soldier. And listen, you know how this go. We're going to hold you to the same standard, and God is going to hold you to the same standard you be holding everybody else to. Which means, listen, it means that the judgment you put out on people, talking about like you're going to catch some pedophiles. If you don't pass that judgment on your government that has 43 states of child marriage, you are cursed. You are cursed. You can't play with this, man. You can't play with this. You can't be acting like you Batman protecting children, right? You can't listen, man, you can't play with God, bro. You can't play in God's earth and world, man. You can't play in God's earth and world. You cannot be riding around here like thinking God don't see you, like some little kid under the blanket. You can't see me. God can clearly see you. He can clearly see you. You sitting up playing with people who don't look like pedophiles. I mean, that look like pedophiles to you. People that are rejects from your community. Cultural rejects. That's who you think is a pedophile. Some stray person, some drifter person. Yeah, that's to you, that's the pedophile. Not the person who teaches your children. Not no female that teaches your children. Not the cops. Not the NYPD cops, no. You think a pedophile some cultural reject, some sketchy person. Oh, I know I'm right, because you explained to me how all these pedophiles are going under the radar, because you're not suspecting of them. So you're suspecting of a certain type of person. That's what it is. Meanwhile, you got Jerry Lee Lewis, your greatest musician, who married one of your greatest musicians. He married a 13-year-old girl. And you still talking about goodness gracious, great balls of fire. You still talking about that. You got these artists that's paying homage, like Elton John paying homage to Jerry Lee Lewis. Do Elton John know that he was married to a 13-year-old girl? Pretty sure he forgot about that part. I'm pretty sure he's not conscious of it. Let's assume that. I'm pretty sure he's not conscious of it. I'm pretty sure he's not conscious of the fact that Jerry Lee Lewis married a 13-year-old girl. I'm pretty sure you're not conscious as the New York community that your cop had sex. 2 cops had sex here in New York with a 15-year-old girl. You're not conscious of that, are you? But you're conscious of everything else, though. Yeah, you got all the spiritual gifts in the world, telepathy, psychics, but you can't figure out why. You can't tell me about the cops having sex with a 15-year-old girl right here in New York City, King. Yeah, you can't tell me about that, can you? But you got a special force going on. You got a psychic force, telepath force. Well, how come, listen, you got a telepath force, but the telepath force and the psychic force knew nothing about this 15-year-old girl who was molested by 2 NYPD cops. This is history, folks. Not something that you try to ignore. Yeah. Like you're trying to make history and folklore around me and other people. Why you ain't make no folklore around these 2 cops had sex with this 15-year-old girl? How come you make no folklore and legend around that? Boom. Ow. Ow. How come you ain't make no legend around them 15-year-old, them 2 cops having sex with that 15-year-old girl, man? Hey, it happened less than 10 years ago. You've held legends longer than that. That's older than that. You still talking about stuff that's older than that. You still talking about legends and folklores and all kind of other stuff, pedophile legacies that's older than that. How come you can't talk about these NYPD cops with this 15-year-old girl less than 10 years ago? Yeah, you don't say nothing about that, do you? See, that's what I'm saying. You have an idea of what kind of pedophile you gonna go after. You don't go after the cops who clearly had sex with this 15-year-old girl. How they gonna describe her jacking them off in the car? Come on, man, come on. One of the cops, that's just like a cop pulling out his cock in a cop car. That's just like old jerky old New York cop. Think about it. And then the other one is getting the same girl now. The same girl. Can you imagine the trauma that she has to deal with? For all you psychiatrists and all you people that are so passionate about helping child abuse people, let's talk about the trauma of this 15-year-old girl being sexually abused by 2 cops. How she would probably never trust cops again. Let's talk about that. How she probably would never trust cops or feel secure in this community ever again. Even as a grown woman, she probably will always have a certain level of trauma when it comes to law enforcement. Even security at buildings and grocery stores, she probably will always have this complex. You ain't got nothing to say about that part, do you? That's what I'm saying. That's what makes you a fraud to me. Okay? I opened the whole book for you. You want to talk about it, be about it. Listen, man, listen. I'm about this life, man. I'm about it. You got 43 states of child marriage, man. You don't want to have this conversation ever again, bro. That's what I'm trying to show you, man. Because I'm exposing all of y'all for not being true to that life. And like I said, you can't play with God like that. If you hold me to a certain standard, listen very closely, because here's where the curse come in. Here's where you get cursed, and I don't care. I really don't care. After all, you let other people go and you play with people that you don't know. And you don't play with who you do know. These 2 NYPD cops messing with this 15-year-old girl, you don't play with them. You play with somebody you don't know and you don't know what happened. Here's what's going to happen. The same judgment that you put down on people that you didn't know, and then we show you clearly, God shows you clearly, 2 NYPD cops having sex with a 15-year-old girl. And you got 43 states of child marriage in your country. If you say nothing and do nothing about that, but you harass me and you harass other people, you're going to be cursed. You're going to be cursed because you're really not trying to find child molesters when we show you them right there in your face. You're not trying to find that. You're trying to play a game, bruh. I'm showing you 43 states of child marriage and NYPD cops getting jacked off in the cop car and you don't say nothing about it. So what does that tell us? That you're really not about protecting children, now are you? And you know what that means? That you're going to be cursed for holding us to a standard that you don't put on everyone else. Yeah, rightfully so. Why should you're going to be cursed for real? And I'm going to pray for you to be cursed. Because listen. A curse comes when something needs to be dried up and it needs to go away. That's what needs to happen to you as a community. You need to dry up, D-R-Y. You need to dry up and go away. Okay? That's what the curse is for. You to dry up and go away. Because you look at you play games, and then we show you the NYPD having sex with a 15-year-old girl, and if you don't believe that, we got 43 states of child marriage, right? And you say nothing, we need you to dry up and go away. No, playtime is over, buddy, which means you're going to be cursed, and you're going to be cursed to dry up and go away. That's what's going to happen. We ain't playing no games. You got a whole government with 43 states of child marriage, and you think you're going to ignore that when you're playing games with people like me and other people? In a perfect world, you could do that. In a perfect world, you could ignore it, but you're not going to do it here. You're going to be force-fed this information. You want to play that game? You're going to be force-fed until you crap it out. I'm going to force feed you this information until you crap on yourself. I'm going to feed you 43 states of child marriage until you crap it out. That's what's going to happen. You're going to crap out 43 states of child marriage. When you've been sitting up here playing games like you child protectors and you got 43 states of child marriage, I'm going to say it to you, crap it out, buddy. Can't be serious. It's despicable. And I don't need nothing else. I don't need nothing else. This is all I need to rock with right here. This shows us everything about you as a community. You can sit up and watch the government systematically molest your children. And then you talk about child molesters simultaneously. Simultaneously, at the same time, you're talking about child molesters while they got child marriage. Ain't nobody playing no games with you. I'm cursing you till you go away. You circus animals. And that's for anybody in any ethnicity. You a circus animal. you a circus animal. They got 43 states of child marriage, and that's facts. And you going by hearsay like you a 14-year-old child yourself. And I'm showing you what the NYPD did in your community to your child who you supposed to be protecting. And you say nothing about it? Okay, we got something for that. We got something for that. We got something real good for that, buddy. Yeah, you want to play that game where you want to have your picks who you want to play with? Because that's what it is to me. You got your picks. You got your picks. You always have. You got Jerry Lee Lewis, who's one of the fathers of rock and roll. Nobody knew he was married to a 13-year-old girl. You got your picks, man. You got your picks. When you got 43 states of child marriage and you say nothing about it, you have your picks. And that's, you know what that's going to have you, what's going to happen, you know what's going to happen to you because of that? You're going to dry up and go away. Okay? We're not playing no games with you. That's what's going to happen. And I don't care if you don't like it. I don't care what you feel. What's real is real. If you hold people to double standards in a situation like this, as serious as it is, as serious as this is, where somebody's life can get taken, if they are doing something like that, if they are doing something like that, their life can get taken, right? For you talking about something that nobody's seen, right? But meanwhile, you got NYPD, who we do know, molested a 15-year-old girl, and you say nothing? We want you to dry up and go away through a curse released to your whole community. You're useless. You're useless. That's what you are. You're useless. You got 43 states of child marriage. You're useless. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. How am I wrong? How am I wrong about it? You're not of any use. Not in this situation. You're sitting around spectating. That's what you're doing. But you're not spectating on those cops that had sex with that 15-year-old girl, huh? You ain't spectating on 43 states of child marriage and why is child marriage here in the United States of America. You're not spectating on that though, are you? So see, you played the wrong game at the wrong time, bro. That's all it is, man. So don't cry to me, don't beg to me, don't plead to me. Ain't nobody playing games, man. I'm a black man. You think I'm gonna play games with you? I'm black, South American, Asian, English, South Italian, Greek, and South Asian. I'm not playing no games, man. I got too many bloodlines to play games, bro. I'm too colorful bloodline wise. You know what? I'm too thorough with it, man. Those bloodlines bring thoroughness. And you think I'm gonna play with you? Man, listen, man, you got 43 states of child marriage, brother. That's a liability you can't afford. Not in this situation. Where you think you some law and order investigator. Let me shut all of that down. You got 43 states of child marriage, buddy. Ow. I'm saying like a redneck. That's a 7 ow. That's a 7 ow. That's a 7 ow. That's a 7 ow. You got 43 states of child marriage. Talk about acting like you a law and order community. Meanwhile, keep this in mind too. I always point this out. Keep this in mind that while all these Law and Order seasons were made and filmed, I'm talking about the ones that Dick Wolf made. While all those Law and Order seasons and episodes were made, guess what? You had child marriage simultaneously while it was all being filmed. I can't make this up. Oh, so it wasn't there? Of course it was there. So guess what? The law and order community never was real. I know you want to believe in it so bad, don't you? All them CSI and all of that, NCIS and all of that. Listen, all that cop stuff was never real when you got child marriage the whole time it was being filmed. The whole time it was being filmed, there was child marriage here. Huh? Man, you can't be serious, man. This is real. You had child marriage the whole time all of that was filmed. Yeah. I'm not ashamed to talk about it. They ain't ashamed to make up lies and talk crazy about stuff they don't know. Why should I be ashamed about talking about the truth? It don't make me look any kind of way. It make them look every kind of way. Gee, how does it make me look any kind of way? Hey, I'm not the one doing it. They are. In 43 states, in fact. Yeah. Yeah. That's why you deserve, like, I deserve the Cash App. Y'all need to be Cash Apping me right now. Yeah. My Cash App should be loaded, bro. My Cash App should be loaded. I'm giving you information. When you would have found this information? When would you have found this information? So When would you have come to understand this? So I don't deserve a bag off that? Yeah, look, I ain't no opportunist. I'm 100. That's intellectual property. This is intellectual property. Hey, I deserve a bag off of this intellectual property, bro. Your whole culture, none of these people told you. None of these people that you respect, these actors, athletes, and all of them sitting around dumbfounded when I talk about this 43 states of child marriage. All of them dumbfounded. All of them are dumbfounded. And I don't deserve a bag? I shouldn't get a bag off this? Based off the intellectual property and the value of the information I'm giving you? Yeah. Should somebody told me this, I cash app them? Yeah. You done told me something I ain't know nothing about. 43 states of child marriage? Wow. Yeah, you should cash out me for that. That's real. That's real, man. Can't be serious. And they supposed to be sound of mind. Let's talk about that too. So for all the psychiatrists, are the people that pass child marriage laws mentally sound? Let's talk to all these counselors of troubled people. You know the type? They counsel everybody. Well, let's talk to the counselors and the psychiatrists of the country, of the community. Are the people that pass child marriage laws in a country that does not have sex with children or do not agree with it, right? We can say they don't agree with it, culturally speaking, right? They passed their last child marriage law 3 years ago, July 1st, 2019, in the Trump administration, just 3 years ago. It'll be 4 years in July. My question to you as counselors and psychiatrists, are they sound of mind? So they can be sound of mind and make child marriage laws in a country that's cultivated in child protection. They can be esteemed as real men and women, real caretakers of our community, real caretakers, motherly, supposed to be caretakers of our community. They have the luxury of being considered a caretaker of our communities, with simultaneously marrying children by law, passing the laws to marry children. Simultaneously, they can be considered mothers of the community, caretakers of the community, and passing child marriage laws at the same time. That's the women that may have had part in it. The men, can they be considered masculine, guardians, protectors, brawny men, a man's man that passed child marriage laws? That's a toughie. That's a toughie. That's a toughie. You considered a masculine, brawny man's man passing laws to marry children. So the psychiatrists and the counselors and advisors, you consider those masculine men? You consider those a man's man that can go and pass child marriage laws? You consider the women that had part in it? I'm sure there was some women sprinkled in there. Might have been the equivalent of, sprinkles on top of a sundae, but they was in there. Were they motherly women? Were they caretakers of our community? Could they be considered the caretakers of our community? Passing child marriage laws? So they're not, are they? So how can you consider them fit to rule anymore? This is the revolution. Can't you see it? Man, listen, I ain't playing no games, man. That's what you need to know too. For all you counselors and drug counselors and all that, I ain't playing no games. I talk to the drug counselors too. I ain't playing no games. You need to know this too. I don't care. You can't be one-track minded. You counseling on drugs, you need to hear about this too, though. Hey, you counseling people on drugs, that's good for you, good for you. But guess what? They got 43 states of child marriage here. That's a 7 hour. What, you got about 5 years clean? Hey, I ain't trying to make you relapse. I know, hey, don't go get a drink after this. But they got 43 states of child marriage. Don't make this as an excuse to drink. Listen, I ain't playing with you. Listen, I ain't trying to make you drink. I'm trying to keep you from it. If that's what your vice is that cripples you, listen, you got 43 states of child marriage here. What you think about that, drug counselor? Are those people on drugs? Are they worse than a drug addict? I think so. But yet they look at the drug addict as the scum of the earth. They look at the drug addict as the scum of the earth, right? You know the type, bro. They out there, listen. The American citizens at large, for the most part collectively, they look at the drug addicts and the people on the streets as the worst scum of the earth, right? But meanwhile, though, simultaneously, right? You got child marriage here passed by the American government. Huh? Passed by the American government, man. Huh? But that ain't the scum of the earth. They're people that can marry children, bro. Huh? But this is what y'all talking